Hello, and welcome to Mean Street News. Mean Street News is here to provide accurate news to help citizens effect change in their local government and beyond. Being nice is overrated. It is time to be real. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. The time to step up and step in is now. So please come join me, Katie, over on Mean Street News to discuss Ohio politics and beyond. I hope to see you there. Hello, and welcome to Mean Street News. Mean Street News is here to provide accurate news to help citizens effect change in their local government and beyond. Being nice is overrated. It is time to be real. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. The time to step up and step in is now. So please come join me, Katie, over on Mean Street News to discuss Ohio politics and beyond. I hope to see you there. Hey everybody, and thank you for joining me tonight, Katie on Mean Street News. Whoever joins me late night, I appreciate it, and whoever sees this in the morning, good morning, and I hope you have a good day. But we're gonna get right into it today. It's gonna be real quick. I really don't want to make this too long. All I want to do is come on here and kind of connect some dots for everybody. It's a big story, and I want to break it down and real quickly, real concise, and just give you guys, the players and how this all connects to the radio contract. When I say all this, how the prosecutors' most recent charges relate to the radio contract that was rescinded in January of 2023, and then a new one was passed in December of 2023. But I want to connect the picture. So what I did is I created what I call my murder map. It's not really a murder map, but it is a map of all of the players. And we're going to start with that. So let me share my screen with all of you. Make sure I hit my audio because, I muted myself last time like an idiot. Share. Okay, I'm going to stay in the corner like I did last time with you guys. And let's make this real big. Let's do full screen. Okay, so I want to make sure you guys can see this. So let me look real quick. Make sure I'm not, deleting myself. Let's see, I want to make sure you guys can see this. All right, perfect. You can. So this is what I call my murder map, and you guys can't see it real quick, but this is where we're going to start. So in 2020, we had a commissioner's race. Okay. These two, and I bet you guys saw the hilarious signs, more hung more, in 2020. So these two run together. Okay. David Moore and Michelle Hung for his commissioners, and they both win. Ignore Mr. Riddell for right now because this has nothing to do with him. So they get into office, and before they even get into office, this woman, Michelle Hung, our Lorain County Commissioner, till January, and then hopefully Marty Gallagher will be it. Michelle Hung started an affair with then the president of the AFL-CIO, Harry Williamson, who you see right here. See that connection? The pink, Michelle's pink, Harry's blue. No, I don't think Harry's blue. Somebody else is blue. Harry's blue. Harry's blue, Michelle's pink. So Harry Williamson, then the AFL-CIO president, meets Michelle Hung on September 1st through, I should probably connect Tom here too. Hold on. I can't do it when I'm on full screen. Hold on. Should probably connect Tom here so I don't confuse all of you. Okay, so Michelle meets. Okay, I'll go back to full screen. I love touchscreen sometimes. Okay, so Michelle meets Harry September 1st through I believe it was Tom Williams. By September 7th, within, 6 days, they ended up sleeping together. By September 15th, Harry gets Michelle the endorsement from the AFL-CIO, Federation of Labor, right here. Okay. Right here. You guys see that? So she gets endorsed. She ends up winning a race. When she wins a race, she decides, and she's married, he's married, by the way. These two lovebirds are married at the time. Okay, but they start this affair in September before Michelle Hung is even elected, but she ends up getting elected, and she ends up deciding to hire her paramour, Harry Williamson, right here. She hires Harry. She's like, oh, he's for the 911 director position. Now, when they went to go vote on their first day in office in January, David Moore, right here, did not know, who is her counterpart Republican, that these two right here, I'm scared out, these two were having an affair. He had no idea. Excuse me. Nor did Tom Williams at the time know that they were having an affair. I got an itch in my throat. Okay, sorry. So when they go to vote, Dave says, sure. Okay, he's recommended by Tom Williams. So Dave said, sure. Lundy, who was the Democrat, says no. Okay. And Michelle ends up being the deciding vote. And what's so messed up about this is that Michelle was the deciding vote to hire her lover that no one else knew about, because I think if Dave knew that they were having an affair, he more than likely wouldn't have hired him. She's the deciding vote to hire him at $70,000 a year. Okay, so everything's going good for the first few months. Their team, Moore Hung's a team. Funny, Well, in the beginning, unbeknownst to Dave has no idea about this. Michelle and Harry start talking to, actually, let me start here. So when he gets into office, before he even gets in, Harry Williamson, we're going to go back 1 second. He goes down to Huron County 911 sent by Tom Williams. I talked to Tom. Tom said he did send him down there. But while Harry was down there, they were testing the new CCI. They were discussing and testing the new CCI radio thing. So then he didn't meet Alan Close at that point, but he met a worker of Alan Close's. So he met somebody from CCI down in Huron County. So that is the first time CCI is brought up in regards to like the commissioners, okay? And I put it in here for a reason, because this shows that Harry Williamson was the first person to be in contact with CCI, who is the radio contract we rescinded and who's currently suing the county. So I'm just going to read this real quick. It says, I spoke with Harry Williamson via telephone. Harry advised that before he was appointed 911 director, Tom Williams, who was the county administrator at the time, contacted him. Tom asked Harry to meet with Art Mead, who's relevant to this as well, who is the Huron County director of EMA. Tom wanted Harry to meet with Mead since Harry was going to be appointed the director of 911 and get a feel for how Huron County has the 911 center set up. Harry indicated that ironically, Tim Carrion was also in the Huron County observing the work of Job and Family Services before he was appointed to the Lorain County Job and Family Services. While Harry was at the Huron County Mead show, Mead showed him the new radio system that Huron County was transitioning to. The system was the L3 Harris system after L3 Harris system. Now, they say L3 Harris system, okay? But the radio system is a CCI system. All CCI is a vendor for the L3 Harris radios, okay? In their radios. It's not a broadband telecommunication system, it's radios. After Mead showed Harry the system, he took the information that he had and informed Tom Williams about it after he received the appointment as the 911 director. So clearly, after he received the appointment. So then we're going to get to how that all happened. Okay. Now we're back to after she hired him, okay? So during this time between, between April of 2021 and May of 2021, Michelle Hung and Harry Williamson met with Alan Close, okay, and had a discussion about the 5-city project. Now, the 5-city project is, when we went over this, when in 2020, when 2020, they were told no, the fire chiefs were told no, and that the county wouldn't be investing in their radios, that we weren't obligated to purchase their radios, never in history had we purchased their radios. They decided to go forward with Alan Close of Cleveland Communications. Chief Betza was a part of it. He was already doing it separately. He's not a part of the 5 cities, but he was doing it separately. And Avon Lake Fire Chief Betza, they all linked up, and he went to some conference where he met up with Alan Close, Cleveland Communications, and then they started working on this 5-city project where the cities were going to go and purchase their own radios, okay? So they were working on that. Well, before they contracted with them, while they were working on it, somehow the director of emergency services from Avon said that Michelle Hung, the commissioner right here, had met with Harry Williamson and Alan Close to discuss the 5-city project. The fact that Alan Close needed the repeater on Burns Road in order to make this project work. And she was the sitting commissioner, okay? I don't even think at this point ARPA dollars came in. Now, Michelle, on December 15th of 2020, it's either 23, no, is it 2022? It's either 22 or 21. I want to say it's 2022. December 15th of 2022, Michelle Hung, during a meeting, says that she met with Steve Haberman that April as well of 2021 from Mission Critical Partners to discuss the radio project. Now, she's trying to paint the narrative that this board right here, the 2021 through 2022 board, okay, before this guy came on, right here was working on a radio project, which they weren't, okay? From April to March to April, May to May, to June, till June, Dave Moore didn't even hear about any of this, okay? Had no idea. I don't even think Lundy did either, to be honest with you, but I don't know for sure. So these guys, between April and May, are lobbying and talking about contracting with Alan Close. And on the December 15th meeting, Michelle said she met with Steve Haberman, and Steve Haberman told them in order to, to stay on track with some project, which the county hadn't been a part of because, they canceled that contract, they needed to be done. They needed the Burns Road site by October, okay, of 2021, which they ended up getting. Because Michelle aligned with Matt Lundy, the Democrat. And in May, Alan Close goes in front of the Ohio General Assembly and tells the Ohio General Assembly that Lorain County would be joining CCI soon. Well, the problem is we didn't even receive a proposal yet. And I don't know any company that is going to go out and say that we have the contract without even sending a proposal. I also don't know and now at that time they were trying to get this ISSI connection from DAS. Now, let me be clear. Alan Close went to the Senate and the House on the last day that they were, the last moment that he possibly could, to discuss budget issues and get $1 million from the Department of Administrative Services to add an ISSI connection onto their Marks towers, which he had been trying for 10 years. He has been denied every time. Alan Close coming in front of the Senate and House, to me, and this is my opinion, my personal theory, it was a farce. It was just to show some kind of initiative to get this this connection that he wanted. But if you're going to show up to get something done in the House or the Senate budget, you should be talking to these senators and legislators about a year and a half before the budget's being finalized. But Alan Close went in on May 8th, the May 8th and 18th, the last day, to try to get $1 million for this ISSI connection, which they end up discussing later on down the road. Okay. So he says in May, before this guy even receives a proposal, Tom Williams, we are going to be signing up Lorain County, which is not true at the time because we weren't even contracting with them. Now, at this point, the only people that had spoken to Alan Close from Cleveland Communications was Michelle Hung and Harry Williamson. Okay. Now, in June 14th of 2021, it was June 14th, Dave Moore, Michelle Hung's Republican counterpart, goes into a meeting where CCI is there. Now, Michelle claims this was to discuss the locution, which is affirmed that was discussed in the beginning of the meeting. However, at the end, closer to the end of the meeting, Harry, right here, and Michelle approach and say, we can use this ARPA money to award Alan Close of CCI this $6.4 million contract for radios. The second Dave started, and we can use ORC, and Dave quoted it. I don't know it off the top of my head. I have it written down. But we can use ORC, I know it's our 301 something in order to do it, which says, like, if it's an emergency, we all know that term in council meetings and stuff, everything's done by emergency. It can be done. And to update contracts, there's a whole list of reasons. But they said using this ORC, we can do a $6.4 million no bid contract. Well, Dave Moore at that time was pretty smart. He was like, yeah, I think this whole conversation's in violation of the Open Meetings Act. And he skedaddled. He was like, I'm out. I'm not going to do that. I'm out. This is ridiculous. Now, that meeting is what caused the tension between David Moore and Michelle Hung. It wasn't the affair that Michelle Hung had with Harry Williamson. It was the fact that she was trying to push this no bid contract. Well, then 2 weeks later, Michelle gets into an argument with Harry. Now, my theory, my guesstimate, this is not fact, is that Harry was getting mad at Michelle for not moving, not being able to convince Dave to move forward, maybe stalling on getting a lease agreement. I don't really know, but I think he was mad at Michelle because these 5 cities at the time, same time this happened, their contracts, these 5 city projects, even though the county was never a part of the 5 cities, they put an addendum into their contracts. And I don't know if I have one in my book here. Hold on. Yeah, I do right here. Guess what? It's the first page I grabbed. My triggers. Okay. So they put in a special provision at the time, June 2021. Okay. They said Lorain County special provision. If during this lease, Lorain County determines it will build out the necessary transmit receive site to complete a county-wide public safety communications radio system, the lessor agrees to allow the lessee to negotiate the inclusion of the expanded radio system into the original radio system as described in Part A, Schedule A herein. If the Lorain County determines it wants to purchase the assets owned by the lessee, and acquired the use of the assets provided by the lessor, both parties agree to negotiate in good faith with Lorain County to provide the best solution for all parties. Monthly fees will terminate upon acceptance and expanded system by Lorain County. So monthly fees will terminate upon acceptance of the expanded system of Lorain County. So these contracts that they sign, they're paying monthly fees, right? Well, they're saying, well, if the county decides to build out their project, because Alan Close is assuming they're going to, for whatever reason he thinks. I have no idea, because it doesn't make any sense to me unless he colluded with these two, Michelle and Harry, thinking like, hey, we're going to get this done. But they put a special provision in the contract for the county. Now, on the June 14th meeting, which is even more important, where Moore walked out of, his assistant stayed in that meeting. And she claims that when he left that meeting, it was stated by a CCI associate that Michelle would now have to align with Lundy, the Democrat, in order to get this contract through. So then the control of the board would no longer be Dave Moore and Michelle Hung. The control of the board would be Michelle Hung and Matt Lundy. And I'm not circling. This is where I'm gonna connect it. Now, I think that fight with Harry, this is my thought, my theory, this is not fact, but my thinking is he was mad at her about this contract thing. She was like, I don't know if I want to align with Lundy. I don't know if I want to do that. And he ended up breaking up with her, okay? Now, this was June 28th, right? So when he breaks up with her it's like their little whatever fight, she has some kind of breakdown on the June 28th meeting of 2021. And she ends up telling Tom Williams right here, he was the previous administrative assistant. You probably all have seen him in the paper. She tells him not only that, they broke up and that she's having an affair with this man right here because she's married. So is he. But she reveals to Tom the affair with Harry. And then she also reveals to Tom at a later, either that day or later date, that there's a tape of the prosecutor's mother that Harry has of his mother doing certain acts on Harry. Now, why is that relevant? It will be, okay? Just remember that. And that's when she tells her about this thing. So they end up making up by July, the beginning of July, okay? Now, this whole affair thing is not what split these two up. These two, Dave Moore and Michelle Hung, were split up by the fact that she wanted him to push for a $6.4 million contract. Then it completely solidified that when she then, after July, in June, told about her affair, okay? And then Tom Williams reports it to the Lorain County Prosecutor's Office, which I should probably put a thing there too. But Tom Williams reports Michelle Hung's affair and the CCI dealings, not just the affair, the CCI dealings, like this that's going on with CCI, to the prosecutor's office, July 18th, whatever. Okay, remember that. Now, what also happened in July, based on CCI's police report, okay, not police report, court paperwork, we have another player come into this, okay, and this is where I get my RICO, and I'll explain it at the end. Alan Close says that he was approached, okay, by this guy, Dana Gollner, at a meeting in Northeast Ohio meeting in July of 2021. Now, this Dana Gollner is a retired police officer out in the east side of Cleveland. I forget exactly what city, but I also found it interesting is he's an officer who shot an unarmed assailant, which I found interesting. But he also works for this company called. He also has a company, and Edge Tactical. He works for Edge Tactical, and he's also a director of the Ohio Tactical Officers Association. So this guy, Dana Gollner, approaches Alan Close and says, hey, and this is July, okay? July. So Moore's done with her at this point. Says, hey, I get 3 out of the 3 he claims I have 3 out of 3 commissioners. I think he had 2 out of the 3, which is Lundy and Michelle. But he says, I know that you're looking for this $6.4 million contract, and I can help facilitate that for a lobbying fee. Give me 10% of the $6.4 million because many people need to get paid. He's quoted in the paper saying that. He's quoted in many places saying that. And we'll get this contract, this radio contract through for you. Now, this is the time where Dave already worked out. This is not going to go on. Her affair was already exposed. That shit's going crazy. And at the same time, Dana Golner approaches Alan Close. Now, Alan Close says after he had what's-his-face try to sign an NDA that, I'm sorry, not the NDA. When he was approached by him, Dana Golner had emails Harry, that he had between Harry Williamson, CCI, Motorola, to prove that he had this contact between the commissioners and himself for the 6.4. Well, ultimately, Alan Close denied the 6.4. He said, we can't allow for the $6.4 million, 10%. This contract doesn't allow for that. We can't afford that. Well, then Dana Golner replies, well, if you can't, afford the $6.4 million, lobbying fee, well, then just increase the contract and that will suffice because many people have to get paid, right? Well, I will tell you what happened in a year's time from here to here, jumping forward real quick. That contract went from 6.4 million to 7.7. Did we get anything extra for it? No. So, okay. Well, at the same time, in his court paperwork, Alan Close says that this Ottawa County Sheriff, Steve Lavoracek, also approached him about this Dana Golner, okay? And said that this Dana Golner approached him and told him about being able to get this contract through, right? Well, Alan Close says he didn't hear from Dana Golner after the NDA was signed, but he's the one that claimed that Dana Golner was a part of this, okay? So Michelle Hung ends up ditching Dave Moore and makes an alignment with Matt Lundy. August comes around. We're in August, okay? August of 2021. August comes around. And Harry Williamson, there's an investigation done about, her hiring of Harry Williamson, their affair, the contract, and Harry ends up getting fired. Okay? Well, now Michelle's mad that her boyfriend just got fired. So what does she do? What I believe what she did as retaliatory, I believe, my theory is, but, kind of makes sense. The day after she's quoted, on August 11th, she's quoted, August 11th, 12th. In August, mid-August, she's quoted in the paper saying whoever's been a part of these political games, talking about her affair and revealing her affair and all that nonsense, is going to basically pay for it. And what do you know? The next day, she fires and terminates Tom Williams. Now, Dave was already writing this, but following this termination of Tom Williams, David Moore, Lorain County Commissioner, writes a letter to the auditor's office, the AG's office, and Lorain County Sheriff asking for an investigation into Michelle Hung and Harry Williamson's dealing with this radio contract, her behavior with the affair, the $30,000 sex room that they bought. Sorry, not sex room, the light penetrating and sound penetrating remodel that they did at the 911 center, Harry's office. And, just the goings on of, and then also the tape that Michelle told Tom about with the prosecutor's mother, JD Tomlinson. Okay. So Michelle and Lundy team up. By October, Alan Close has his spot on the tower. Okay. By December, both Marks gets their contract, their lease tower agreement, okay? Then December 2021, these people show up, okay? The fire chiefs start showing up and lobbying for the contract between CCI right here, Lorain County First Strike Gallery, December 21st, administration following their meeting regarding, CCI and them supporting CCI contract, right? And this is a year before they even passed the contract. I'm going to pause on this real quick. Hold on one second. So they go into the new year. And they're like, we're going to pass the contract. They tried to hire mission critical partners. in December. I guess I've seen they had tried to hire mission critical partners in March of 2022. Now the problem is with mission critical partners, with the contract for mission critical partners, they stated Cleveland Communications 26 times that they were going to come in as a vendor to basically ensure and help Cleveland Communications get this multi-million-dollar. Oh, my internet's going. So that contract wasn't approved at that time. Okay, then gotta wait for my internet to get back. So then they ultimately end up hiring mission critical partners, who I believe helped rig the using a language to knock out. No, there goes my internet again. There's no reason for that. To knock out, come on. So after a bunch of shenanigans, the March meeting is important, okay? So after the March meeting, they eventually passed this contract later that December 22nd, the last day Michelle Hung and Matt Lundy were in power. They passed the multi-million-dollar radio contract to CCI, knowing, and this is really important, all of them knew, every single person that has lobbied contract knew that it was going to be rescinded 19 days later. The new board made it very, very clear that that contract was going to be rescinded 19 days later, which it was. And that brings us to January of 2023. Jeff Riddell in 2022, right here, Mr. Jeff Riddell, he won his election against Matt Lundy. Now, he only won his election by 126 votes, which is, I mean, talk about an election, right? So he wins his election by 126 votes. So now Lundy's out. Okay, let's just do this with him real quick. He's out. Lundy's out. So now the board is let me do this. Now the board is Michelle Hung, Dave Moore, and Jeff Riddell. Well, in January 2023, the first meeting, the sheriff's budget, right here, which I probably should connect the sheriff. The sheriff's budget is reduced by $500,000, and this contract is rescinded, okay? And the sheriff is pissed. All of the safety forces come in now, and the only time that they ever come in is to come and complain to them about this contract for CCI and to lobby on CCI's behalf. But all the safety forces come in when she passed the contract December 22. 19 days later, they come and they they yell and scream at Dave Moore and Jeff Riddell regarding rescinding this contract, even though Dave and Jeff said, we want to just take a look at this, and this was done inappropriately. It was done on the last day. There's questions regarding the RFP. We just want to take a fair look at this contract. It's a lot of money. The sheriff's department was going to be receiving $3 million. The 911 center would be receiving, it was like 1.9 or something. Don't quote me on that. But then the cities were going to get sub grants for $4 million, all to help purchase their radios, even though they all got their contracts. All of these people in June of 2021, they signed contracts with CCI all close. So they were getting their radios. They always had gotten already their radios. They received them. They rescind that contract for the county, which is separate from the five. It's completely separate from the 5 cities, right? But the 5 cities were going to be receiving sub grants to help with their purchases, and not only the 5 cities were going to be receiving sub grants for the purchase of the contract that was rescinded. So was Lorain Police Chief Jim McCann and Elyria. Now it is quoted in the paper that these two relied on that money from the county that they were discussing with Michelle Hung and Harry and CCI and Steve Haberman. They were relying on that ARPA dollars. Leary Chief Police is quoted many times saying it in the paper to move forward on their, to basically alleviate their expenditures for the city, for this radio contract that they signed. So these two rescind the radios. That's when it all starts, okay? The Fire Chiefs Association ends up writing a letter that says to Phil Stametti saying, we want an investigation, which I got to put a line here all the way across. We want an investigation into the Lorain County Dave Moore. We want an investigation into Dave Moore, or not the radio contract, not the rigged bid, but we want an investigation into Dave Moore and Jeff Riddell rescinding this multi-million-dollar contract. So basically, we want an election. We want you to investigate the elected officials that did the fiduciary authority of this county. We want you to investigate them for rescinding this contract, okay? At the same time, Alan Close CCI decides to sue, and he files in Lorain, the county, I believe, common police court, and then when they threw out his first complaint, he then withdrew his second and filed in district court, which is just to prolong, the inevitable. That's what I feel. I don't. That's not true. It's just what I feel. Okay. So, after this investigation, after this request for investigation, Michelle Hung also requests an investigation. I'm going to show you right here where she requests an investigation, and the sheriff even put it in his report. At the request of Commissioner Michelle Hung, I conducted an investigation into the allegations asserted by Dave Moore. So investigation into Dave Moore's allegations, not in Dave Moore's rescission of this contract, not the bogus contract itself, not Dana Goldner trying to bribe and extort money from CCI to get this contract passed. No, I'm going to investigate the allegations, the whistleblower report that Dave Moore made, even though Dave Moore asked me in December and August of 2021 to investigate it. Now that Michelle Hung asked and the Fire Chiefs Association, I'm going to investigate this. So that's what he starts doing. And eventually it comes to the point, I'm skipping over a lot, but like I said, I want this to be a little bit quicker. Eventually he asks for a special prosecutor, okay? And when he asks for a special he asks Sheriff's Committee, asked J.D. Tomlinson right here for a special prosecutor, okay? And J.D. Tomlinson, starting in 2023, in March, says, I will ask Attorney General Yost. Attorney General Yost comes back and says no. Then Prosecutor Tomlinson says, hey, we have not only a court case that was filed, but we have the auditor's office apparently investigating, and we also have this sent to the AG's office. I don't see it really feasible for the sheriff's office to do a parallel investigation when the facts are going to come out in all of these three investigations, right? Well, so he denied him a special prosecutor again, and this was in May. I want to say Mayish. Don't quote me. Captain Van Zandt of the sheriff's department is, and then he was Lieutenant Van Zandt was the one conducting the Lorain County Sheriff's investigation, okay, into the radio contract. So he was working with Michelle Hung, and others, and the sheriff, and he was also denied the special prosecutor. And even JD said, if you two right here find some kind of evidence that shows me that you need a special prosecutor, I would be happy to do so, but you guys have yet to do that. So after they published the sheriff's investigation, which we went over for 4 hours and 22 pages and went through every point and why it was, messed up and not correct, they thought they could get a special prosecutor again, and he denied them again, saying that you still haven't shown me anything. Like, I got to go present this to, the special prosecutor who's going to take this case. And I got to be able to show him some evidence, and you guys aren't really showing me anything. So when that happens, what do these two do in 2024? Well, they then start investigating the Lorain County prosecutor. Okay. Now, Sheriff Stamiti in 2021 hired Dennis Wills, who was running against J.D. Tomlinson, okay, and lost for the prosecutor's office. He then, in 2023, and who helped, Dennis Wills helped with the sheriff's investigation. I have emails between him and Michelle Hung, these two in 2023. So he's helping with the sheriff's investigation, all these people, right? He then, in 2023, hires, in July, Tony Sillo, who then decides to run against J.D. Tomlinson. So these two are asking for a special prosecutor to investigate Dave Moore up here, Dave Moore and Jeff Riddell's rescission of the multi-million-dollar contract. This chick right here, passed the last day she was in office, last day she was in power, knowing it was going to be rescinded immediately. So it's political stunt. They're all investigating on behalf of her because, like we just showed you, that's what it said in the report, to help Alan Close get this contract back and reinstated. And they even believe until the end of, when I say they, all of these individuals right here, because they were lobbying for money, they still believed at the end of 2023 that contract could be reinstated, even though it's still in court. So when he's denied, these two are denied a special prosecutor, and Michelle says it when he didn't look into things that, they wanted him to look into, JD, they start investigating JD. And then here comes the Battistelli case, right? They then try to paint this picture when they couldn't, when Michelle couldn't use the sex tape to get JD to do something for her, which is my belief, that's my theory. And when you guys say what sex tape, I'm going to show you this. Van Zandt even put it in his report, which I found really interesting. Give me 2 seconds. Blackmail, there we go. Okay, so Hung, here we go. Hung advised that she had informed Tomlinson on 2 occasions about alleged videos for help. Hung advised that she was afraid of Tom Williams and how he had information about the incident. After she told him about the incident, okay? Hung advised that Tomlinson asked that if his mother, was a willing party in that incident, which it was, yeah. So Hung admits to knowing of the blackmail videos. So Hung advised had informed Tomlinson on 2 occasions. So she didn't only have to tell him one time, my boyfriend has a video of your mother, you know what I mean? To consenting adults doing whatever adults do. But she had to tell him twice. Which I find a little odd. Like, why would you tell somebody that, not only once that you had the video, why would you tell them twice? Okay? Now, this is what the sheriff's, this is the radio investigation. This is what Van Zandt puts in the report. Ready? Commissioner Hung claims that the director Williamson and a family member of J.D. Tomlinson's family would meet up for sex in cheap motels. Now, listen. Even if this allegation is true, it is not a crime unless Commissioner Moore is insinuating that due to an alleged sexual relationship, the county prosecutor is compromised and or being blackmailed to not perform his duties. Well, I think they tried to. I don't think he was, but I think they tried to. And then when they couldn't extort him to help with the CCI contact to assign a special prosecutor, they then went after his love life that we've discussed in the last 2 episodes. Then Jennifer Battistelli came on. Now, there's a conflict here, though. You know what I mean? What's the conflict? Well, this guy, Van Zandt, is accused by JD of sending the woman, who apparently is a victim of JD, according to the sheriff's department, and the most recent charges filed, which I don't believe, she now is their victim, in order to go after a special prosecutor to investigate the sheriff himself. I mean, the sheriff, the prosecutor himself, even though the sheriff's department is conflicted because Van Zandt is not, like we read in our letter, send nudes, come over when Betsy's out of town, sending these to the supposed victim, and now filed charges against J.D. Tomlinson, accusing him of bribery, tampering with evidence, and what was the other one? Bribery, tampering with evidence, and intimidation, I believe it was, to a witness, which is her. Which, yeah, she worked for him. She did get $100,000 settlement after he decided not to, after he got advice from counsel who told him not to sue, whatever. And she now said that he violated J.D. Tomlinson, his settlement agreement, even though she then, because they break up after the $100,000 settlement, she tries to get back together with him later. Doesn't work out, and then she decides that she needs more money, and he, after she leaks videos to the press, trying to portray J.D. Tomlinson as a womanizer, abuser, to help cut Rick and their case, basically, she then tries to sue again for $350,000 for for JD commenting on the situation that she leaked videos to the press to. And I say she because there were her phone videos, and the only person that could was her. Now, this is the bigger picture. Tony Stillo has issues with her because they worked together, and he basically tried to hate on her in the office. That was all in JD's letter. Tony Stillo now is running against JD Tomlinson. They're trying to investigate the prosecutor for not assigning a special prosecutor for this radio investigation to help Alan Close, get this contract back, pretty much. And he never bid on a new RFP was put out, a more proper RFP to let all bidders, come in. And once again, when that process was done, we had the attacks by the safety forces here, okay? We had the attacks by the safety forces. They used these guys, all of these chiefs and all these fire chiefs and a couple police chiefs and a deputy president of the Deputies Association, used their official titles, official associations, to lobby on behalf of this multi-million-dollar contract. And they tried to say, like, oh, we never got radios, we never did this, we never did that. Well, they did get their radios. They got their radios in 2021. The municipalities are going to have to pay for it. They thought the county was going to bail them out. And like I told you, for one, it's a misappropriation of ARPA. For two, this entire contract was done through bribery and extortion, and intimidation, and under using these people's authority, all of these people's authority, in order to push a bad contract. And they rigged the bid. She also rigged the bid by using the phase 2 language. When they used the phase 2 language, it knocked everybody out. Now, I'm going to cut to it. What is RICO? Racketeering, why am I forgetting this? Racketeering influenced or crime organization, okay? Racketeering. The racketeering was the contract itself, okay? It wasn't done through the appropriate contract and the lobbying fee or increase the bid price because many hands were going to get paid. They were trying to do business illegally. You also can't rig a bid. That's illegal when doing business. So that's my racketeering, corrupt influence. Now, she used the color of her authority as a commissioner to lobby on behalf of the safety forces. That in her role is inappropriate in itself. Now, if Alan Close wanted to meet with the county, he should have made an appointment with the county administrator, not Michelle and Harry. And the backdoor meetings, not in front of the commissioners, is shady in itself. Somebody here, was getting something for this. Now, these people here conspired together. And when I say they conspired together, is that the only time that these people showed up to a meeting, okay, the only time that they was when she needed the support for it. It wasn't that they took their own time to come up. It was organized. It was planned. We'll go over the dates in the next article, but it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an incident. It was to create a narrative. It was to obtain money from the taxpayers illegally. They tried to say, you're not giving us our radios, we're all going to burn down. They already purchased their radios. The ARPA dollars that they wanted to use stated it had to be a broadband telecommunications infrastructure. Radios are not that. That would be towers. That would be servers. That would be fiber optic cables, something that creates the internet. The radios don't do that. It also couldn't be a recurring expenditure, which this was. And it had to be paying for broadband telecommunications system. They were going to give sub-grants. Lundy and Michelle were going to give sub-grants to these cities, the 911 and the sheriff's office. And that leads me to this, is why did the sheriff's office need $3 million for radios when they just purchased radios? So when this contract was rescinded, it just got worse. The lobbying got worse. The sheriff came in, would be yelling at the commissioners about his budget, not only his budget, but this contract. Alan Close in an email says they were going to use the unions to, force the mayors into this contract, the 5 cities, which they did, and now all of these people that are also lobbying are all a part of these associations. They're a part of the Fire Chiefs Association. They're a part of the union. They're a part of the Deputies Association. There's nobody here that's been lobbying for this contract that's not a representative of the community. Now, who we didn't hear from this entire time was the mayors or councils, who should have been, supporting their safety forces to begin with. But the second, and this is where I get to, is the second that the sheriff didn't get his way, didn't get the special prosecutor from J.D. Tomlinson, what did he do? He started investigating J.D. Tomlinson himself and his relationships with his girlfriend. And if you guys think that him filing those charges, a week before the early voting starts, that's not a coincidence. It's election what they're doing right now is election interference. And they can say all day long, we started looking into it after the $100,000 payment and the commissioners approved. Okay, the prosecutor was advised to do this payment, to not go through Corsa, right, to take this payment out of his budget. He went to the commissioners. The commissioners relied on his authority and his attorney's advice to then allow the payment, right, because they're the fiduciary. That's their fiduciary responsibility. Then that payment went to the auditor, Craig Snodgrass. And if Craig Snodgrass had a problem with the payment, it then would have been flagged. He never flagged it. So I don't understand why these two are investigating this $100,000 payment to Jennifer Battistelle and the commissioners because of the payment, when the payment was ultimately the last stop, the buck stopped at Craig Snodgrass. If there was something wrong with the structure of the payment, it stopped at Snodgrass. No. All of this behavior, and then, hiring Dennis Wills and Tony Sillo, both who ran against the prosecutor, 2 attorneys. I don't even remember the sheriff's office having an attorney. Now, these guys are long-term friends, right? And I really think the charges came after Tony Sillo, I don't think Tony Sillo's doing that well in the polls. He's running as Republican, even though he's not, and he's lied to all of us, but he's also the problem the last 30 years in the prosecutor's office. So, when he didn't, a week before this guy filed charges, trumped up charges, by the way, on this guy about her, even though the lead detective, the lead is the captain who's investigating. This has been sending his conflicted interest. All of these parties are conflicted interests, and that brings me to the Dave Moore letter. What Dave Moore letter, Katie? Let's bring up the Dave Moore letter where he says all of these people, when Van Zandt sent him a subpoena for records, Dave Moore, he said, you all are conflicted. You all have been lobbying for this contract. You all have something to gain here. This is illegal. The business, the way that they are conducting their business is illegal. And the dates and the real dates that and they use their association, the organization's lobbying for communications to do so. They use their power of authority, their power of their position. Now, I tried to connect Dana Gollner with everybody because that's the bribery and the extortion. The extortion and bribery also come from Harry Williamson and the sex tape. I honestly believe Michelle approached Tomlinson and tried to soft press them. I absolutely did. Do I think he came right back at her and was like, yeah, not a thing? Yeah, I absolutely do. Now, there is a connection between Jennifer and Michelle. There's Facebook, they were Facebooking each other and all that nonsense back in 2020, commenting on a bunch of stuff. So my question too is this woman that, ends up recording the prosecutor after she was terminated for throwing a fit. She resigned after throwing a fit about, lying about discrimination case, pretty much. Like, she lied based on what her employee file says. Did maybe Michelle approach her or Harry approach her and say, hey, we need you to get some video of him, which is why she then did the recording she did and the 60-second, releases right before this big election, to the newspaper, which is in violation of her settlement agreement. By the way, Jennifer, I'd like that $100,000 back. But these people are all conspiring together. Look at the triangles. It's the conspiracy triangles. I mean, you can't make this up. Even the sheriff here, who has been, according to, Phil Stametti, he talked to Steve Lewarchek. He said he's the best. It's the best system there is. They're good radios. I'm not doubting that the L3 Harris radios are good, but he does not have a broadband telecommunications system or the ability to build one, which is why he didn't bid on the contract. He never bid on the new RFP. He decided to submit a no bid letter because it was a completely different and more appropriate use of our funds, which is what we did. However, ever since the rescission, you see this mess with the prosecutor. You see this mess with Dave Moore in the newspaper. You see Michelle losing her mind on Facebook, going after everybody. And I think, and this is why I want a bigger investigation, my thought process here is these people conspired to give Alan Close a multi-million-dollar contract. This is my theory. Multi-million-dollar contract in order to, each get some kind of payment at the end, because Dana Gollner said many hands need to get paid. I don't think they did this for nothing. I think there was some kind of quid pro quo. There was some kind of agreement. And the sheriff's office alone was going to get $3 million. These people were in it right here because their cities and municipalities were going to get hundreds of thousands of dollars to help with the radio purchases. These two weren't even part of the 5-city, but they said they needed this ARPA money in order to move forward with this huge project that they took. And they used their official titles to do it. They used their authority, their color of official right. They used their political power. She should have never been involved in the 5 cities. She should have never been involved in the radio contracting. All she should have done was have her administrator present to her what is going on. But instead, she's conspired. She's been conniving. She's been, bribing, extorting, retaliating. The termination alone right here is retaliating, and she's using our tax dollars to do it. She has spent over $700,000 in legal fees. I want those over this crooked contract. The first people to meet with them are this person. Now, why it meets RICO is because you have to go over state lines, and Alan Close said this in his lawsuit. Is that's why it's over state lines. They don't purchase the radios in Ohio. So there goes your cross state line thing needed for the RICO. But specifically, this is Hobbs Act. I mean, and when I say Hobbs Act, this is what I mean is that, there's this Hobbs Act case that won, and I want to say it was in Wyoming. Okay, and I quoted this in my through her use of bribery, bribing Ellen Close, like, we could get, with the Dana Gollner thing with the association with Harry. And Harry, oh, I forgot that. When the bribe came through, Harry also, that April of 2021, sent Alan Close a competitor's bid to get him to lower it so he could award the contract to him. So that's also, conspiring to award him a contract, and they also rigged a bid that way, or a proposal, rigged a proposal since it wasn't up for bid. But it's another, bad, fraudulent scheme that he did. But I said, through the use of the bribery, extortion, and under of color of authority being your positions, Michelle was the commissioner, the president of the Chiefs Association, president of the AFL-CIO, who was listed as a person that Harry discussed his lawsuit against the county with, who has been best friends with Harry. So there's your conflict right there. Fraudulent schemes, all their little, political schemes and everything like that, and artifices, false pretenses, promises, and representations. Commissioner Hung and her associates deprived the rights of the Lorain County citizens to the honest services of their elected officials. So we hired her to do what's best for us, and what she did instead was waste her entire time in office conspiring with the safety forces in order to award a private contractor a multi-million-dollar contract, RICO. And when this didn't work and they couldn't get the prosecutor to investigate David Moore and Jeff Riddell's rescission of the contract, what did they do? They then they politicized and weaponized the sheriff's office, and these two, Sheriffs Phil Stametti and Captain Van Zandt, then tried to, force him into assigning them a special prosecutor based on their investigation, based on their want and their need. And when he didn't, they started investigating him, which is where we are today. So when Michelle Hung said in the video the other day in the news, we started the investigation because, he wouldn't look at cases, that's what she means. He would not assign, J.D. Tomlinson would not assign a special prosecutor to prosecute or go after her not political opponent, but her Republican counterpart, Commissioner David Moore, because he rescinded the contract that she had worked so hard for 18 months. They then went after the prosecutor. They then started investigating the prosecutor. And ladies and gentlemen, that's just wrong. It's just wrong. Like, end of the day, it's just wrong. And right before an election, and that's election interference, they are trying to interfere with the outcome of the election. They want to get Tony Sillo in there to then bring in, their old school crew, come in and, just turn the prosecutor's office into what it used to be. And then probably go after the people that rescinded this contract because they're still lobbying for it. Now, another like quick bit that I'm going to play this video and I'm done is Harry and Michelle, it was rumored in August, had broken up, right? And there's this lawsuit that Harry filed, because Harry filed a lawsuit against the county for his termination, because Michelle hired him when, he feels like he was terminated illegally, even though he wasn't. There's an investigation done, but she signed after a month. So this letter was written in August. It took her a month to sign the letter, and it's basically an affidavit stating, trying to help Harry's case, basically stating like he was discriminated against in some way or whatever. They fired, whatever it said. But, there's this Aaron Knapp thing with the video, the video that he's wants for the Justice Center, and what does she go and do is, she immediately goes and helps him, and, with a potential lawsuit against the county again, throwing out her fiduciary responsibilities. Michelle Hung is the problem here, and we've been in litigation. She's suing Dave Moore, she's suing this person, her boyfriend's suing that person, Alan Close is suing this, and it all revolves around the stupid contract. And the most recent is the charges against J.D. Tomlinson, and no offense, I saw it coming. This is a corrupt group, weaponizing and politicizing our safety forces in order to get their way on a contract. And it's just wrong. It's just wrong. And when they didn't, they used their authority to then go after the sitting county prosecutor who's up for election, which is election interference. I don't care who you are. This is election interference. But Michelle said it herself. The prosecutor wouldn't investigate the cases that they gave them. And since he wouldn't, we gotta go after him, right? She doesn't have a prosecutor. Stay focused. We'll see you. You won't see me tomorrow. You will see me on Thursday. I have an event tomorrow, but you will see me on Thursday. And we are gonna, go into 23 and 24, and I'm gonna get into more details about how we rescinded this contract. But this is a conspiracy. Absolutely. Might think I'm crazy, but the dots line up, and they have torn this county apart in the last 3 years. They have turned us upside down. And I think we're finally on the offense. I think we're finally getting that story out, the real story, that all this is a group of people trying to interfere in the election coming up because they have a vendetta against the prosecutor and against David Moore over this radio contract and a special prosecutor, which is just ridiculous. But the RICO is bigger. They use the AFL-CIO, the Lorain County Fire Chiefs Association, the Sheriff's Deputies Association, and all of those people in positions of power, the chief, the sheriff, Captain Manzant, they all use their power in order to influence this contract. And when the commissioners stuck to their guts, it was, we're going to investigate now the prosecutor. Stay focused, Lorain County, and we'll see you on Thursday. Have a good day.
County Commissioner Michelle Hung says Tomlinson has repeatedly refused to look into issues she and others have raised and believes Lorain County does not have a prosecutor. Fellow Commissioner Dave Moore says the timing of the charges are suspect. He calls the situation bad for everyone and says it paints the county in an unflattering light.
And we'll begin with Mr. Tomlinson.
Thank you. And thank you, Chip, for having us. I want to thank everyone for attending. I also want to address the elephant in the room. About a day and a half ago, Jim Burge and I were charged with manufactured crimes, and we will be exonerated. I wanted to make that clear. I also want to thank my supporters for your continued support. You don't know how much it means to me. I'm going to win this race, and here's why.
Have a good night, you guys. Thank you for joining me today on Mean Street. I hope you enjoyed the show. I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider supporting our work and supporting my effort. You can support directly underneath at the Spotify donations, or you can directly give a donation at paypal.me/meanstreetohio. Any donation received will help me continue to provide news to you and everyone else across Ohio and beyond. I love what I do, and I just hope to continue to do it. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day.